All right, Shalom. We want to start off by giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone, peace and salutations to hopefully elect. Coming at you with another lesson of the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. And it's funny, through the spirit, I was just watching Apostle Tahar making a video, and he made mention how Jake is not blessed. All right, even though Jake has this abundant amount of money, so-called, that they are not blessed. And Jake believe in their mind that since they do have this abundant amount of so-called money, FRNs, that they're blessed, right? And Apostle Tahar mentioned Money Mayweather, all right, Floyd Mayweather, you know. And here's another example of someone who popped up on my feed, and this is Jay-Z, right? Jay-Z claims he is still experiencing racism with a net worth of $1.4 billion, right? $1.4 billion is his net worth, and he is still experiencing racism. This is just a sign to show you that, Jake, you're under the curses. No matter how much money that you do have, you are still under the curses. Right? And you're not able to escape these curses just because you have, so-called riches on this side. No, you're still going to experience the curses that are upon you. You can't run from it. You can't hide from it. And money is sure not going to, get you out of the condition that you're in today. Let's play this quick clip.
Even at this stage in your life, so you're famous, you're rich, you own stuff, where you run into racism that's evident to you, that's easy to recognize at this stage of your life?
Yeah. But it mostly comes when you try to challenge the status quo. I'm being quiet and entertaining, everyone's cool. Man, it's great. You don't feel racism. But when you try to challenge the club, it's like, oh no, we should have a seat at this, to use the Solange album title. We should have a seat at this table. And then it gets into a space where it's like, wait, you guys are mad at me about the same thing you guys are doing. And it's just, it gets into a weird space.
Are you in meetings now in your business life where you're the only black man in the room?
Well, when I was doing the Nets, I was definitely the only black guy in the room.
And what was that like? Describe that.
It's strange, but at the same time, I think that in that room, my celebrity allowed me a voice that probably would have been awkward for someone in my position, being the only black person in the room, to break through.
Are there incidents even at this stage in your life, so you're famous, you're rich, you own stuff, where you run into racism that's evident to you, that's easy to recognize?
All right, so you heard it, okay? You heard it from the 1.4 billionaire himself, saying he's experiencing things when he tries to challenge the status quo. And see, this is what all these so-called entertainers and leaders of our people go through when they try to challenge the status quo, when they try to go an alternative route, when they try to push an alternative message that Esau don't want them to push. See, when it comes down to pushing violence and pushing hate upon your people, pushing this living in the flesh, living in lust, living in sin, adultery and crime, all these different things. See, he allows that, but when you try to push something the opposite of which, like the upliftment of your people, this is where he says, wait a minute, time out. We don't pay you to do this. See, we pay you to shuck and jive. We pay you to keep your people in sin. We pay you to keep your people, serving the God of this world and not serving their true power, Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. All right. So when you try, and I'm just speaking in a way how, when they try to challenge the status quo, so to speak. See, these entertainers, they're not allowed to speak up. Okay. That's why it says all they want me to do is entertain. Right? And when you go against that grain, what happens? They'll blackball you. You see, you won't get no media coverage. You won't get anything. Okay, you won't get your streams won't get played. They'll just block you out, out of the limelight, so to speak. Let's get the book of Isaiah, chapter 9, verse 16. It says, "For the leaders of this people cause them to err, and they that are led of them are destroyed." So the leaders of our people, right, whom in today's world people look at as leaders is who? People like Jay-Z, people with money, people with fame, right? This is who they look at as their leaders. Their leaders are destroying their people. Why? Because they're having them walk the broad way that leadeth to destruction. The true leaders, the prophets, are trying to show our people to walk what? Walk in the spirit. Walk the straight gate. Walk the path that leadeth into life. Right? But see, they're causing our people to be in what? To be in error. You see? Now, I spoke on the curses. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 28. And before I read it again, and I'm going to start at verse... I'll start at verse 1. It says, Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 1. It says, "And thou shalt come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do all his commandments which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all nations of the earth." So when you read down from verse number 2 all the way down to the 14th verse, it goes into all the blessings that the children of Israel will receive if they were obedient to the voice of the Lord thy God. Verse 15, but it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do all his commandments and his statutes which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. So when you go to the verse 16, all the way down to the 68th verse is going to all the curses that is cleaving to the children of Israel, which are you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. Right? So let's play that one more time.
Are there incidents even at this stage in your life, so you're famous, you're rich, you own stuff, where you run into racism that's evident to you, that's easy to recognize at this stage of your life?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. But it mostly comes when you try to challenge the status quo. I'm being quiet and entertaining. Everyone's cool. Man, it's great.
It mostly comes when you try to challenge the status quo, but when I just entertain, everything is cool. That's all he wants our people to do, is to do what? To entertain, to be the bread and circus act, to keep our people downtrodden, to keep our people confused, to keep our people entertained and unaware of what's actually taking place. This is what's happening in society, right? They're using our people to entertain our people, to keep them from paying attention of what's really going on.
Are there incidents even at this stage in your life, so you're famous, you're rich, you own stuff, where you run into racism that's evident to you, that's easy to recognize at this stage of your life?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. But it mostly comes when you try to challenge the status quo. I'm being quiet and entertaining. Everyone's cool. Man, it's great. You don't feel racism. Mm-hmm. But when you try to challenge the club, it's like, right. Oh no, we should have a seat at this, to use the Solange album type. Right. We should have a seat at this table. And then it gets into a space where it's like, wait, you guys are mad at me about the same thing you guys are doing. And it's just, it gets into a weird space.
Are you in meetings now in your business?
Right, so you get the point. Okay, they want you to stay in line and just entertain. That's all. Anything else above that? No. All right. So, as Apostle Tahar said, Jake have all this abundance of money and are still under the curses. But Jake think they blessed, But how is it that if you're so blessed with all this abundance of money, why the hell you still going through what you're going through? And we talking about Jay-Z got a net worth of $1.4 billion. $1.4 billion? And they still look at him as a nigga. Oprah Winfrey went into a shopping store to go get a purse, and they still looked at her as what? A nigga. Not knowing she could buy the whole store out if she felt like it. You know, if she wanted to, if it was privately owned, she could buy them out. But they still looked at her as a nigga, and they did not care of who she was, you know, and what she had. Look, these are curses. So let's yeah. So let's hit a few of these curses up. All right. Just grab a few of them. So let's go. Yeah, Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 37. It says, "Thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all the nations where the Lord shall lead thee." So, is it a coincidence that you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, everywhere you scatter throughout the earth, you're called these different proverbs and bywords? Let's go into this word proverb. Mashal says, some original sense of superiority in mental action, properly a pithy, usually a metaphorical nature, hence a simile, as an adage, a poem, discourse, byword, like a parable. See, let's go into this byword, gives us a little bit more. This is a gibe, a taunt. Okay? So when we're amongst these different nations, we're not called our biblical nationality. They're not saying, hey, you know, that's an Israelite from the tribe of Judah, when they look at the so-called Negro, so-called African-American here in Babylon the Great. They don't look at the so-called Mexicans and say, oh, look, that's an Issacharite. That's a Israelite from the tribe of Issachar, or that's an Issacharite. They don't say that. They don't say these things, no. They say, that's a Mexican. You know? That's a laborer. You see what I'm saying? And these proverbs and bywords, these taunting, you know, words have been placed on us. That's a curse. That's a curse. You know, to be had this major network and still to walk into a store and be followed around as if you're going to steal something. That is madness. To be you know, have $1.4 billion of a net worth and still, you know, be treated like shit, still looked at as a reproach. That's a curse. That's a freaking curse. These devils don't bow down to these niggas. You know? No, they make these niggas bow down to these devils by doing what? By having them to what? Fulfill their agenda. That's why I said, look, if you challenge the status quo, it's a problem. But when I'm just doing what they say, you know, I'm good. In other words. Verse 38 says, "Thou shalt carry much seed out into the field, and shall gather but little in, for the locust shall consume it." That's not the one that I wanted to get, but let's see. Verse 43, "The stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt lend to him," or tzlakia, "He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail." Right? So who does all the lending? He does all the lending. You know, when you're dealing with investments, you know, and all these different things, he's the one who has to sign that dotted line. He is the one to give you these opportunities to make a way, not you yourself. Okay? This is a way to show you that what? he has gotten above you very high, and we have been what? Being brought down very low. This is a curse. These are curses. Verse 45, moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee and shall pursue thee till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not to the voice of the Lord thy God, to keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded thee. And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder upon thy seed forever. Right? This is what you see happening. And the curse is going to come off. Okay? We ain't going to have no curse in the kingdom. We're going to be under that curse when our bodies are changed. You see? But until then, this is what we are under. This is what we are subjected to, so to speak. Okay? Our punishment that we have to deal with until it's lifted up off of us. Verse 47, it says, because thou servest not the Lord thy God with joyfulness and gladness of heart, for the abundance of all things. Right? We end up getting proud. We end up getting to idolatry, thinking these different deities was going to be, looked into these different deities as our salvation, as if they was going to provide more. Right? When you go into the scriptures, roughly paraphrasing for the lack of time of, even like in the book of Jeremiah or the book of Ezekiel, Slakia, the Lord's talking about, look, I took care of you. I clothed you. I nourished you up. You was good. You was good. But you looked elsewhere, right? I wasn't good enough. I wasn't good enough unto you, as what your actions are showing of why you went into these different deities, or why you committed this spiritual adultery, this spiritual fornication. Right? So these curses have came upon us. But, just showing you that even this amount of money that Jake had, they still through. Still through. Still going through all the bullshit and going to continue to go through all the bullshit. Why? Because you under the curses, nigga. You are under the curses. Until next time, I want to say shalom.